Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by BASF.
Hey, Kara Oosterhuis here with RealAgriculture.com. We are back here out in the field today with a Pulse School episode, and I have here with me Scott Gillespie, who is an independent agronomist with Plant Stakes Soil. How's it going today?
It's going very well.
Great. So recently you spoke at a Farming Smarter event about some of the research you have done. Can you talk a bit about it?
Okay, so at Farming Smarter a year ago, I saw the plots that were where they had the precision planter trials with the precision planters and drills. And it was fairly impressive to see the consistency of the stand and how well it did, even in dry land, in a very dry area in the Medicine Hat. So it was something that was just, I had noticed it, thought it was interesting, and then I had one of my growers talk to me about wanting to get one of these precision planters and for the seed canola, but then also wanted to know what else it could be used for. So we had, or on the farm, there is soybeans and yellow peas, which what we're standing in right now. And so I said, definitely the soybeans would work very well with it. The peas I knew would be an issue with the amount of seed that we have to put on, because they're usually at about 3.5 bushels per acre, whereas soybeans are about 1. So I just knew the quantity of seed would be an issue, and we are, this is in 15-inch spacing. So we, because the planter wasn't going to be used for any other crops like sugar beets or corn, then the 15-inch spacing made more sense for the canola. So I knew that the 15-inch was maybe a little wider than what peas normally go, but I still thought that having that precision would really help out.
So as part of the research, it was obviously conducted in plots, but you took it to see how it would work in large field scale trials. What did you find?
So probably the biggest thing that we found was in plots, they can get the high seeding rate, so they can set whatever seeding rate they want and get it. In the field, we could get that if he went 1 mile or 2 miles an hour. It was just a lot of seed to try to run through the planter. And so I had to make some adjustments in what I was expecting, and planning out by the plants per square foot, what we're looking for, what the final stand was. I was on the high end of where we could be. So I had to make some adjustments, and so I cut it down to 3/4 of what I was hoping to get. And so that ended up working out to about 7 seeds per square foot, which when you have a little mortality, maybe goes down to about 6.5 seeds or plants per square foot, and which is on the lower end of what the pulse growers, what is recommended. But from my thoughts on it, having a precise stand and not having the clumps or what drills usually do with larger gaps and larger and areas where a bunch of seeds come out, then I think the stand is still very good.
So what sort of impacts did it have with things like weeds or like weed pressure?
That was the other concern, was how quickly it would canopy in and how quickly things would, what would happen with the weeds. So this year is probably one of the worst years to have had that, because it has been extremely slow in getting the crop established and getting the weeds controlled. They were sprayed with Viper at the proper staging at I think it ended to be around 4 or 5 nodes. So there's always a race after that as to whether it'll canopy over in time. And this year, with it just being a very slow start to the season, there are weeds starting to show up under the canopy in this field. So it ended up it took about an extra week to cover over the rows compared to what it would have been if it were 7.5 inch spacing. The weeds were there. I kind of think they might have been there even if it would have been the drill size. But for me, what I see it as, we could be looking at getting back into some inter-row cultivation, which could help with not only the weeds that come afterwards, but any herbicide-tolerant weeds that we're dealing with. And then I also see some opportunities that if people are looking at cover crops, trying to establish cover crops as a relay, getting it established within the existing crop, then there's opportunities there. Now, peas are going to be a little tougher because we cut them so close to the ground, and there's also desiccation usually in there. But I think there's some opportunities. There could be some crops some covers or some things that could work in there.
So what sort of cover crops were you looking at?
What I'm thinking of, and it wasn't done, so it's more of an idea of what we could do is if we can find some possibly annual ryegrass, maybe some clovers. I'm not sure how well they would work, but anything that's going to grow really low to the ground and isn't going to interfere with the harvest, I think could work. I think it just would take some experimentation to find out what is going to work and what your goals are. First of all, it has to be something that is not going to be a weed in your following year, and you got to look at what you're looking for.